Crypto is not looking too good right now. Bitcoin has dropped below $30,000 per coin. Ethereum is dropping well below $2,000 per coin. And many Bitcoin bulls, while they are saying, you know what? It could be a great buying opportunity to get into Bitcoin if you're in it for the long term. They're saying still, we don't know where the bottom is going to be. Are we going to just bounce off of that 30,000, hover around it and continue back up? Or are we going to drop down to $20,000 per coin and see another, 20, 30, 40% correction from where we're at right now, even more potentially. So in today's video, we're going to go over exactly what's going on. We have a couple of stories I do want to go over with China and Bitcoin, intensifying stuff going on over there, more crackdowns, institutions getting involved, and things not looking great over there. After that, we're going to go over Mike Novogratz, big time Bitcoin bull, Galaxy Digital, what he's saying about Bitcoin, what price he sees, and what we're seeing an interview with him saying. After that, we're going to go over some positive news from institutions, Facebook executives, all talking about Bitcoin because it's not all negative. While we are seeing the major headlines from China and all of the FUD being spread around, there is a lot of good news still going on in the crypto world. So we're going to talk about everything. After that, we're going to just stick around and chat. So if you are new, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a lot when you guys like these videos, get them out to more people. It helps me keep making more videos like this. So if you haven't already, please be sure just to tap the like button. But anyways, right now, Bitcoin's price has dropped below $30,000 per coin. Turned negative for 2021. First time we've seen this in a while. We had touched the $30,000 per coin support a couple of times over the last couple of months since the beginning of the year. We touched it back in January. We touched it a couple times in May, but we had never officially broken below it. Now officially we have broken below that $30,000 per coin number, and it's not too great. But you know what? There always is a silver lining, always is some positive. So right now, crypto market, bit of a recap before we get into the main points. We're seeing Bitcoin down at $29,580, Ethereum down at $1,740, Binance Coin down to $237. And when you're looking at a couple of these prices, for me personally, Ethereum did drop to about $1,700 per share. It was about $1,790 back in May, first 2 weeks of May. So that's not the lowest we had seen. We saw it have a flash crash down to that price. Bitcoin had not broken down below 30,000. So that was a key support that we did officially break through. Definitely looking like we're in a bear market. The entire market is getting absolutely demolished, down 14.44%. And Bitcoin dominance, the level that you like to look at is when we're in a bear market, Bitcoin dominance usually skyrockets. We see Bitcoin dominance go from 43%, 44%, all the way up well above 50%. Right now, Bitcoin dominance, top of the screen, you can see sitting right around 47%. That's up over 1% from where we were 24 hours ago. And a lot of this has to do with what's going on in China. So we had spoken about this the other day, but what's going on in China right now is they've intensified their crackdown on cryptocurrencies. And it's not like they've done in 2013 and 2017, because they have put bans in place multiple times throughout the last couple of years on crypto. It's not the same. This time, it's a lot more serious. And what's going on now is that they instructed all financial firms to go through their systems, look at all of their customers and say, look, if you identify any customer who has sent crypto to an exchange, who has made any sort of transaction with crypto, who has sent money to an offshore account for something that looks like it's for crypto, flag those accounts, and you have to either cut off the account's ability to send or receive money for transactions, block them entirely, or just remove their account altogether. So this is something that a lot of people are very, very concerned about, because it is not the same as we had in the past. It is much different this time because the Chinese government is taking this a lot more seriously, in my opinion, because of what's going on with their digital yuan. They have their digital yuan. It's officially been rolled out. They have this lottery system already in place where they're sending out about $9 million in, randomly, just in red letter envelopes as a lottery, as a sort of a lottery system where they're sending these out to people in China and saying, here you go, here's digital yuan. You can go ahead, spend it wherever you want. We just want to get people starting to use our digital currency. And that's what we're seeing right now. So because because that is now implemented, because they have the digital yuan finally ready to go, starting to be used, they're getting much more defensive with what they're doing with crypto, because crypto is a direct competitor to their own currency. Crypto, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and digital currencies that are going to be used as a form of payment, are direct competitors to the Chinese digital yuan, and they are the first country with a central bank digital currency already implemented. They are the first country, well ahead of the US. US has only had this in talks, but China already has this out. So it's something to keep in mind that they're not going to ease up on these restrictions. They're only going to get worse. They're only going to become more and more difficult. In addition to this, right now, a couple of factors going on in China is that people in China have continued to trade Bitcoin and other digital assets for a while via peer-to-peer transactions that involve direct money transfers between accounts. So what this means is that even though they're putting bans on financial institutions, people who are very pro Bitcoin, very pro crypto in China, if they already own crypto they have a digital wallet that owns crypto, they can just send it to someone else's address, Bitcoin wallet address or Ethereum wallet's address, without anyone really knowing, because they never have to get involved with any financial institution. But if they have to start sending more money over to their digital wallet, or they have to send more money over to an exchange, they could run into some problems. But the thing is if you're just going and sending money from your address to a friend's address, your money in your Bitcoin wallet to someone else, you can still do that, because it's much harder to regulate that, even though the Chinese government will try. And finally, we had 5 main banks come out from China that all said that they issued separate statements saying that they're going to prohibit the use of their accounts for anything related to virtual currency transactions. That's what they refer to in China as cryptocurrency. We talk about crypto, they say virtual currency. 5 banks, Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, LTD, Agricultural Bank of China, China Construction Bank, Postal Savings Bank of China, Industrial Bank Ltd, all 5 of these. And people are saying, I've seen a lot of people talking, people have asked me, you know what, why can't people just put their money in other bank accounts? Why can't people just not use those banks? It's not how it works in China. In China, these are all statewide banks, state-run banks as it is. And any company in China major company in China is going to have major government influence over it. Doesn't matter if you're talking about Alibaba, which isn't run by the government, or if you're talking about, a bank, which is statewide and state-run bank. So you can't just move your money to a different bank if you're in China. That could work if you're talking about UK and some bans that banks have put in place there, but that's not how it works in China. In addition to this, a couple of things going on with China that many people aren't really talking about is, in my opinion right now, while it is something that a lot of people are concerned about, and you do have every right to be concerned about what is going on, a lot of fear, in my opinion, I think it's a bit of an overreaction just when we start to look at the data. Because when we look at the data, we talked about this again the other day, but it's important to reiterate, and that's that the top 25 countries in the world, their realized Bitcoin gains over 2020. US was by far the highest, $4 billion in realized gains for Bitcoin from retail investors. China was at $1.15 billion, so they were the second highest in this ranking. But look at how many countries are close to them. We see Japan at $0.93 billion, almost $1 billion. United Kingdom at $0.83. Russian Federation at 0.63. So a couple of countries are very close to China in terms of how much money is being realized from Bitcoin gains. Yes, a lot of this activity probably isn't even recorded for China because people aren't buying directly on exchanges. They might be, using money in offshore accounts, sending money elsewhere, and then transacting with a different type of currency rather than yuan. But something just to keep in mind is that we do see most of the Bitcoin gains and a lot of the Bitcoin increase over the last year has come from US retail investors, US institutions, and mainly driven by US investors getting more into Bitcoin, US institutions getting more into Bitcoin. So those are just a couple of things to keep in mind in the history of what has been going on with China, with the regulations on Bitcoin. Remember, this isn't the first time. They have had bans in place before. This time it's just a bit more serious. This is on Wikipedia, but I've done the fact checking. It is accurate. And what we're seeing is that Back in December 5th, 2013, People's Bank of China made its first step in regulating Bitcoin by prohibiting financial institutions from handling transactions. We had already seen this, like this is exactly what they're saying now. And they said that back in 2013. Then on 2014, April 1st, they ordered commercial banks and payments companies to close Bitcoin trading accounts in 2 weeks. That was in 2014. And then in 2018, they banned like trading platforms. 173 different platforms where you could trade crypto. So you just got to remember this, while it is more intense this time around, they really didn't change any specific wording. They're just saying, look, we're more serious now. If you don't, there's going to be more consequences in place. You can see all of these right here. 2013, December 5th, 2013, April 1st, 2014. July 2018. So they've been doing this for years and years, and the wording in particular isn't so much different, but the big scheme of things is that it's more intense this time around. If you guys are new here, you haven't already, please be sure to like the video. Let's see if we can get up to 200 likes. Helps me get this out, helps me get this video out to more people. I really appreciate all of you guys watching and joining us, and we will do a chat at the end of the video if you do stick around. Right now we're at 56. Let's see if we can get that up to 200. I know we can do it. There's enough of you guys here. Moving on, though, let's talk about what is going on with Mike Novogratz, second story. And that is that Mike Novogratz, Bitcoin major person in the Bitcoin space, he says that we could see a lot more pain in Bitcoin ahead, but he doesn't think we're going to lose most of Bitcoin's value like we had in the past. He says this time it's very different. This time it's not the same because there are many more institutions using this as an opportunity to get into Bitcoin. There are a lot more retail investors into Bitcoin who have exposure to Bitcoin. Previously, it's a much smaller portion of the population, but now we're seeing a lot more people actually getting into crypto, actually own crypto, and when they're seeing dips below 30,000 for Bitcoin, especially institutions, they're using that as a major buying opportunity. So what Mike Novogratz said is that he said, we had China really be much more forceful in their idea to ban cryptocurrency this time around. A lot of crypto happens in Asia. A lot of it is focused on China in particular. So he said what we're seeing is a big liquidation coming. So it's hard to call a bottom, but what he sees is that if we can hold that $30,000 support, even if we break below it during the day, if we can have just a flash crash maybe below it, but we could see it sustain above $30,000, well then we might be able to bounce back much faster. But if it is really breached, we do see us break below 30,000, which we are right now. But if we see it sustain below 30,000 for a day or 2 days, then he becomes a little bit more hesitant on calling a bottom. 25,000 looks like it's a good resistance, but we could go as low as 20,000 and touch those highs that we saw back in 2019, and we'll have to wait and see. But either way, he's saying, look, it's not going to be what we had seen in the past. We're going to lose 70% of its value. Bitcoin's not going that low this time around because you got to remember, institutions are using this as a buying opportunity to get more and more Bitcoin. Like, for example, the day on June 21st, the day that China came out with this ban, when they reiterated the ban on crypto, we saw MicroStrategy, which owns over $3 billion of Bitcoin. They bought $500 million in the single day where we saw Bitcoin drop 10%. Bitcoin dropped 10%. They swooped in, bought 13,000 Bitcoin, and many other institutions did similar actions. They used this as a buying opportunity to say, look, even if Bitcoin drops further, we think it's important to have Bitcoin, and it's going to be a major driver of growth over the next decade or so. So look, even if it drops further, we're going to use this as an opportunity to dollar cost average to buy more. So we are seeing institutions across the board buy more Bitcoin despite what is going on with the crash and what is going on there. Next up, Bitcoin funds. So everyone's been talking about in the US, Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs being passed, and how once these Ethereum and Bitcoin ETFs are approved by the SEC in the US, that we will see Bitcoin and Ethereum's price and the entire crypto market really take off. That's what people are saying. That's what top analysts are saying, and it makes sense. Once we have these ETFs approved, there's going to be much easier access for institutions to allocate portions of their balance sheet to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and it's going to be something that a lot more institutions are going to feel comfortable with. However, right now, what we are seeing, even though the market is dropping, there is some good news going on in terms of the Bitcoin funds ETFs department. And that is that VanEck, they filed a prospectus for a new Bitcoin futures mutual fund. It's not an ETF, but it's, pretty similar and something very exciting still, because it gives institutions more investment vehicles to get into Bitcoin, to get into Ethereum. So this fund, which is managed by Gregory Krenzer, he said yesterday on Monday, while the entire crypto market was crashing, that this is going to be the Bitcoin strategy fund. It's going to invest in Bitcoin future contracts, as well as pooled investment vehicles and exchange traded products with exposure to Bitcoin. It's not going to invest directly in Bitcoin, not going to invest directly in Ethereum, but it is going to get exposure to crypto through investing in crypto mining companies, Bitcoin future contracts, ETPs that have exposure to Bitcoin, exposure to some altcoins, and things like that. So this is something that is good. We're seeing the SEC be more open to Bitcoin investment products. Not yet ETFs. They have not yet approved an ETF or a Bitcoin or Ethereum ETF, but we are seeing them more open to the idea of other crypto investment products, other crypto investment vehicles. So if you guys are just joining us, please be sure to like the video. Helps me out a lot, helps get these out to more people. I really do appreciate every single one of you watching. Let's see if we can get this up to 200 likes. And at the end, we will be doing just a chat talking about what is going on if you are just joining us. So thank you. Next up, something with institutions that I found pretty interesting. The person who is the head of Facebook Financial, the person who is in charge of crypto project DM, formerly called Libra, he came out and spoke about Bitcoin, what's going on in China, and he said he thinks this is actually a great move for crypto right now. He said, look, I think what's going on right now is great for Bitcoin mining, and for people who are saying that what's going on in China is bad, he doesn't understand it. So according to what is going on with, his name is David Marcus. He's the head of Facebook Financial F2. He said that what's going on right now in China's Bitcoin mining crackdown, what's going on specifically with Bitcoin miners, not with the regulations regarding crypto activities, but he said what's going on with Bitcoin mining is great for the development of Bitcoin, because look, how is more Bitcoin mining power moving out of China and to the West a bad thing? He said, how is it bad for Bitcoin miners to be coming to the US, to be going to Europe, to be going to other countries outside of China? He said, in his opinion, China cracking down on Bitcoin mining is going to be great for Bitcoin long term. There's a lot of fear in the market right now, but it's great because Bitcoin miners aren't just going to stop. They're just going to look for where's the cheap alternative to mine Bitcoin. And there's so many countries out there where it's cheap to mine Bitcoin. You just have to look at where's energy the cheapest. Like Texas with wind energy, it's pretty cheap. In Florida with nuclear energy, it's pretty cheap. So you could just look in areas around the world where energy costs a little bit less, and that'll be where we end up seeing Bitcoin miners. But remember, getting it out of China, nothing wrong with that. There's always so many regulations, so much government scrutiny in China, and the government controls everything. That can't hurt at all. So the CEO of so in addition to him, the CEO of the crypto exchange, Luna, he commented that a couple of things going on are very familiar with Bitcoin right now. He said, first of all, why we're seeing this crash is that we typically see a potential issue is identified, either scaling problems with Bitcoin, either ESG problems, environmental concerns, Chinese miners getting banned. We see a problem. Then the second thing that happens is solutions are created, like China bans mining, chain analysis, things like that. The third thing is risk mitigation is incorrectly interpreted as an increase in risk. So then what they're saying is that, look, we typically find that there is a potential issue. There's a solution created, but then people view this problem as being much more harmful to Bitcoin than it actually is. They get scared of it. They get scared of what's going on. They sell off their positions when they don't realize that what is actually happening and the solution is good long term. Even though it's a change, people don't like change. It's actually pretty good long term. So then he says eventually the penny drops, and then we see the price rebound faster than ever. And that's what we're seeing right now with Bitcoin. We're seeing him, who is the CEO of the cryptocurrency exchange. We're seeing the head of Facebook Financial say the same thing, that look, It's a bit of a shock right now, everything going on with China, but we're ultimately going to be better for it. And they think it's just going to make Bitcoin crypto stronger in the future. His specific quote was, "I totally love it how every supposed move to bring Bitcoin down actually works in its favor when you look back on it in a couple of years. Perhaps what doesn't kill you makes you stronger," has never been more true. And in addition to this, they go on to say that Chinese miners that were domiciled in China are looking to Central Asia, Eastern Europe, and the US and Northern Europe. Every Western mining host he knows has their phones ringing off the hook. So really what we're seeing is, look, worst case scenario with what's going on in China, obviously banning crypto trading activities is different. That's not so great. But what's going on with Bitcoin miners, ultimately they're going to find somewhere else where it's going to be cheaper. They're going to use more renewable energy resources, and then more companies are actually going to want to invest in Bitcoin. You got to remember, right now Bitcoin is not the most environmentally friendly. There's a lot of environmental issues around Bitcoin. So if they move to an area out of China that maybe is more energy efficient, they move to an area where maybe they have to use more renewable resources, you know what? We might see institutions get involved in Bitcoin faster. We might see that happen even faster, and that could be something that is a really good sign for crypto, in my opinion. Because just think about it. Like, now that I'm just saying it and I'm talking about it with you guys, when I start to think about this, Bitcoin in China was like, most of the Bitcoin miners were located in China, and with that, how much energy was used, like renewable resources, was pretty low. For example, Elon Musk had come out and said that once Bitcoin gets to about 50% using renewable resources, well, then they will consider accepting Bitcoin again. But until then, they're not going to. So once it moves over to another country, maybe they have to start using more renewable resources. Maybe they have to find a better location where energy is cheaper. Once that happens, well, it could actually be that we're going to see Tesla start accepting Bitcoin. We're going to see General Motors, which has talked about Bitcoin. We're going to see all these places go further into Bitcoin a lot faster, because moving out of China forced these Bitcoin miners to become more energy efficient. So that's just something that I think is definitely a possibility, something that definitely could happen. So we'll just keep that in mind, moving forward. I think it could have a lot of positives, but we will see what happens. Next up, let's talk about what is going on with a couple of institutions, and a Cornell economist specifically talked about Bitcoin, a couple of flaws, but also the technology behind it and why it's very useful. So right now, Cornell economist says that Bitcoin has 3 flaws driving people to search for better alternatives. He said that, look, right now, Bitcoin has 3 flaws. The first flaw is its energy usage. Bitcoin mining. We all know this. And he explained how certainly it's not good for the environment, but because Bitcoin has issues, like we just spoke about with environmental concerns, it has issues with how much energy it consumes, it's going to force people to come up with alternatives that are much less energy intensive, that don't require as much energy and are going to be much more efficient. So he says that this is forcing us to either look for new locations, new technologies, or just figure out how to mine Bitcoin using sustainable resources. The second problem, which he said, is what is going on with a couple other things with Bitcoin, and that is that the second point was that Bitcoin is not so anonymous after all. He said everyone talks about Bitcoin being completely decentralized, completely anonymous, and he cited that the Colonial Pipeline case, where law enforcement claimed to have recovered $2.3 million in Bitcoin, that Bitcoin may not be as anonymous as people thought, and there might be other better alternatives out there to that if people are trying to get that as the goal. And the third flaw, which he said, is that Bitcoin does not work as well as currency. He says that it's slow, it's cumbersome when you use it for payments. A lot of people, first of all, don't like Bitcoin for payments because one coin is worth like $30,000 per coin, so that's something that a lot of people don't like. But he said, so really, right now, Bitcoin, with a couple of these issues, has been forcing people in the Bitcoin community, in the crypto world, to look for better alternatives in terms of energy, to look for better alternatives in terms of scalability, energy efficiency. When we talk about, let's say, Ethereum or Cardano, I hiccuped and I like a voice crack, but Bitcoin or Cardano, Ethereum or Cardano. So it's like what they're looking at is there are a lot better alternatives out there And what's going on with crypto and Bitcoin right now is actually pushing people to find these better alternatives. And lastly, what I do want to talk about is what is going on with a couple of institutions, what they are seeing with Bitcoin right now, and how they are consistently adding to their positions, even though we are seeing crypto crash. So we've talked about this a couple of times, and right now, a financial advisor that we had not heard from very much, and this is financial advisor Rick Edelman. He said that he sees tremendous investment opportunities in Bitcoin. He's the founder of Edelman Financial Engines and RIA Digital Assets Council, and he recommends that everyone should have Bitcoin in their investment portfolios. He says that, first of all, this is completely new, completely different, and financial advisors who have had success in the past, they are staying away from Bitcoin because they don't quite wrap their head around what's going on in Bitcoin with crypto. They don't quite understand it. So they stay away from it because they're afraid of it. They don't understand what's going on. So even though they're missing out, he's like, they rather stick with what they know. But he says it's important to realize that right now, Bitcoin and crypto is completely new, and that it's a completely different asset class than we have ever seen before, and that it has nothing in common with anything else, with stocks, with bonds, with real estate, with oil, with gold, commodities. It's completely unrelated to all of that, and it's a tremendous investment opportunity that we have not seen in over 100 years. He said this is the first time in over 100 years that we are actually seeing a new asset class that investors can get exposure to, that is going to have a lot more money poured into it over time. You got to remember, like, all of these asset classes start off small, but as they get more and more accepted by the general population, by institutions, by the, hedge funds, once we see that happen, that's when we start to see these really start to take hold. We start to see the value increase, and we see prices start to stabilize. Once institutions pour hundreds of billions of dollars into crypto, we're going to start to see the prices stabilize at a much higher level than we are right now. So he said what we got to do is recognize that Bitcoin and digital assets are non-correlated. You got to say that, look, that Bitcoin is ideal addition to a diversified portfolio because of this, because it's not correlated. And while it is very volatile right now, crypto is very volatile. Eventually that is going to stabilize more. And he's not saying put 50% of your money in, but he's saying, look, it's good to be at least 2%, 3% of anyone's portfolio, even if you're not bullish on Bitcoin. If you don't like Bitcoin, fine. But he's saying at least allocate some portion of your portfolio to it, because it does have a lot of potential of gaining and continuing to increase its price and continuing to grow as a just separate asset class from everything else in the future. And once we see that, well, it's just going to yield huge gains for people who are willing to stick it out right now, willing to be in it right now. So if you guys are just joining us, please be sure to like the video. Helps me out a lot, helps you guys, helps us grow the community. We are at about 111 likes. Let's see if we can get this up to 300 likes like we did yesterday, and I'll stay on a lot longer, just hang out with you guys talking about a couple of pieces of news. If not, we might end the stream a bit early, but we do have a couple more things to go over. So yes, let's see if we can try and get this to 300 likes. If we can, I will stay on for the next couple of hours, most of the day. We'll talk about anything related to crypto, but if we don't get it to 300, like I said yesterday, we might have to leave a bit early because I do have a couple other videos I want to get out to you guys. Let's look at what's going on right now with crypto. Let's refresh the page, see what is going on with the market. Actually, guys, Bitcoin and Ethereum right now, when we're looking at it, it's up significantly from where we saw it just about, what was it? How long ago did we start this live stream? Just about 30 minutes ago, Bitcoin was, in the entire crypto market, was down 15%, 14.4% to be exact. Now it's only down, but now it's down 11.96%. So it's in a much better position than we were at before, but still, down all across the board. This is a good sign, though, in my opinion. Now, if we're looking at this, let's take a look at Bitcoin's chart. We've seen that it did break, below that $30,000 support, but ultimately, if we could see it today at some point, just hold at 30,000, bounce back, well, that would be a great sign, because we have dropped to this 30, a little bit below 30,000. I believe we dropped below it on January 22nd, we dropped into that $29,000 range, almost even, let's look. we dropped into 28,850 range. That was on January 22nd. So now that we are seeing that it looks like we're coming back up a little bit from that number, we could see it bounce back and recover faster. We just got to remember, look at this. This is the daily candle chart. Ever since we hit 40,000 after Elon Musk tweeted that Tesla would be accepting Bitcoin if it becomes more energy efficient. Ever since we saw him release that tweet, well, Bitcoin has had almost a week of straight losses from June 14th. Ever since then, so June 15th through June 22nd, we saw the price of Bitcoin decrease every single day. Yet, you know what? If we see it bounce back after today and we see it hold above this 30,000, bounce back to 30,000, it could be good news for crypto. Yes, it looks like we're in a bear market because of the death cross which recently happened. It does look like we're in a bear market because we did break below that $30,000 support. But in my opinion, you know what? If we could see it close above 30,000, there is no closing. But if we could see it hold above 30,000, bounce back fairly quickly, then that's a pretty good sign for crypto right now. And we are seeing 29,900. This is exactly what we've talked about, everyone. When we're looking at Bitcoin, it's just different this time around because institutions are so much more involved in crypto now than they have been before. So much more involved. So it's like if they're seeing prices below 30,000, they're going to want to get in. They're going to want to get, in at a good price, even if that means they might lose out in the short term, because we all know Bitcoin, the technology behind crypto, is not going away. It's not going away. So it's just going to be a matter of time where it's like it's going to bounce back. Institutions are going to get invested in it. We're going to see big money players invest in it. There was a recent report that interviewed 100 hedge fund managers, and they said, how much Bitcoin, how much crypto you think is going to be in your portfolios? And they all came to an agreement that, look, on average, we expect there's going to be about 7% of all hedge funds portfolios be allocated to Bitcoin. And if that happens, think about it. Hundreds of billions of dollars are going to be poured into Bitcoin over the next couple of days. And next couple of years, not next couple of days. So this will just be interesting to keep an eye out on, because if we see what is predicted to happen actually play out, well, it doesn't matter if we're seeing Bitcoin drop a little bit now. And yes, like if we're looking at the charts, everything across the board is in the red today. Like, what is the first coin that is actually up? Well, it's going to be hard to find something. Everything is down about 10 to 20%. Like, there is not a single coin. Look at us. We're up to number 57 already. Still, everything is in the red except for some stable coins. Wow. Top 100, nothing is in the green. But you know what? My opinion, great opportunity to get it in long term. If you're looking at the short term, yes, we could see prices a lot lower. We could see prices drop a lot more. But I don't invest all my money all at one time. I just consistently add over time with all of these positions. But if you guys are just joining us, I appreciate you guys tuning in today. I think what we're going to do is we're going to head off for this episode, and we're going to come back. I'm going to do a live stream on AMC. We're going to talk a little bit about crypto, and we might just hang out. But if we cut it off now, then YouTube will recommend the video to more people because it was pretty concise, pretty consistent in what we spoke about. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I'm going to be tuning off for now, but I'm going to start a new live stream within the next 5 or 10 minutes. So just stay tuned for that and make sure to check that out. But I really appreciate all of you guys. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you in just a couple of minutes.